right, high rollers, I love this game, absolutely love it. Listen, I'm in the casino a lot, play poker only, the only game I see an edge. But every once in a while, just like a lobster dinner, I like to play some craps, baby. I budget for it, I consider it a money lost, pure gambling, pure entertainment, but sometimes I win, and hey, it's fun. Well, our guest today treats it as a business, serious stuff. He's worked hard at it, too. When he plays craps, he has the edge. Question is, how does he do it? He's been on the show before, folks. Craps expert Aaron Hightower, coming to us from Las Vegas. His website is www.goodshooter.com. Aaron, welcome back. Thanks for being a high roller, man.
Well, thanks for having me, Derek. I appreciate you bringing me back on.
Hey, listen, how do you beat the game, buddy?
Well, that's been something that I continue to investigate, and the short answer is that it's really, really, really difficult. So, there's a lot of advantage play gamblers, people that gamble with an edge here in Vegas, but most of them do it on the games that are easiest to get an edge on. Craps, in my opinion, is a game that if there is an edge, which is still continues to be somewhat debatable, it is the most difficult game to get the edge on. So it's a really challenging thing to even attempt to undertake, in my opinion.
This is a fascination for you, isn't it? Tell us about how you got your start in this game.
Well, the way I got personally started in craps was, I got to where I was doing a lot of investing, on Ameritrade, doing a lot of independent investing, and I had some money at the time, and just wanted, I enjoyed taking the risks, honestly. I was doing day trading and gambling and stuff, and at the time I lived in California. I was close enough to come to Vegas, and so I, took a couple of trips and really just enjoyed the risk-taking aspect of it. That's how I got started, but anything that I do, I generally want to just push it as far as I can, and I pretty quickly realized that I had a really serious interest in the game, and I wanted to spend a lot of my time, really trying to push things further, and so that's kind of the nutshell of how I got started.
There are a lot of systems out there, books, strategy videos, but with those blueprints for success come skeptics. I mean, many say it's pure luck and that the house always has the big edge, always. How do you respond to that? I mean, can you control the dice?
This is something that's been, it's been ongoing, the conflict and the debate, and there's some people that say, it's 100% random, and you guys that think that you can get an edge in craps, you're not playing with the full deck, I guess. A lot of these guys, a lot of the skeptics actually are playing with an edge on other games. So if you're playing with an edge on blackjack and you're counting cards, you're playing with an edge on poker, and you're battling against someone who's not as good of a poker player as you are, or you're playing with an edge on video poker, and you know exactly which cards to hold and what pay tables to look for in order to get your edge. Those things in comparison to craps are just very simple to do. They're just easy, frankly. And craps is really, really difficult. So these people that are doing the more simple advantage play, they look at craps saying, you know what, you're fooling yourself even thinking that it's possible, much less thinking that you are actually doing it.
And why is that? Is that because of the layout of the craps table? I mean, there are numbers everywhere. I mean, the first time I saw a craps table, I was intimidated.
Well, craps is, by most people, and certainly if you don't know anything about the game, is very overwhelming, okay? And so in the process of trying to understand the game, I've really stopped at no detail is too small for me. So, I mean...
Well, give us an example of that. Give us an example of no detail is too small.
All right. Here in Vegas, some of the pays are different on some of the tables. So, there's a lot of trivial details here in the city about where different tables have different aspects, okay? What kind of rubber are they using on the walls? What kind of pays do they have? What's underneath the felt? How do the dice bounce? How well are the dice balanced? Where do the dice come from? Where are they manufactured? What are the policies? How do they pay different bets? There's some bets that, you can make an $8 bet on a 4, And there's 3 different ways that they can pay it, depending on what the policies are at the casino and how they.
So you're really taking it to the nth degree. I mean, you're doing your homework.
Absolutely, and I really don't think that there's anybody else that has the time that I spend to go around to all the different casinos and survey and get all of the nitty-gritty details of exactly what's going on. And that's what makes it difficult, because every last detail does matter in this game.
All right, I'm going to throw out a few names for you, and I'd like your thoughts on each. We had this guy on the show. You already mentioned him, an author, craps expert, Frank Scobliti. What do you think of him?
He's a fantastic guy, and he is known as the most successful author on advantage play for the game of craps. So he's kind of the king. He is the guy, the go-to guy when it comes to how to get an edge on craps.
And his book, Golden Touch Craps, that was pretty large at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it continues to be the most popular book for playing with an edge on the game of craps, yes.
Okay, another guy, a protege, I guess, of Frank Scobliti, Dominic Lorigio. I saw a feature on him about beating Vegas and how he really took time to practice and perfect his throw. And I guess the technique that he had was the slow arch, try to hit the dice just before the wall so that it bounces off the wall and comes out low. What do you think of Dominic?
Dominic, I haven't interacted with him personally, but I've seen some videos of him, and I'm familiar with his work. And, Frank generally talks about Dominic and some of the other guys as, the really, really accomplished shooters. And he's one of the most accomplished shooters in the world. And the details of how you throw the dice and stuff, those guys go more into, what is the best way for you to throw the dice, even more so than I do. So, and Dominic, he's absolutely, the guy, right?
Yeah, he's a legend, man. The man with the golden arm, they call him. Hey, I'm curious. You got a craps table in your home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where is it? How much space does it take up? And what do the others think about it?
Well, it does take up quite a bit of space. I don't have just a craps table. I have what I consider to be the craps table, which is a Paulson 14-foot craps table.
Really? Okay, why is it the craps table?
Well, you know what? The reason why is because this is the craps table that's been used here in Vegas for years and years and years and years. And to be honest with you, more recently, you're seeing a lot of cost-cutting measures going on, especially after the crash. And people are they're making new casinos, and they don't want to spend the full cost for a real craps table. So there's guys that are on Craigslist that are just wood carpentry guys, and they'll throw together a craps table.
So what you're saying then is you could possibly be an advantage player, but you roll up into this casino, they've got cheap tables, and under the pays is it affects the bounce.
Everything matters is the short answer. Everything matters. And so my perspective is, when I bought my table, was I wanted a table that was most like the average table in Las Vegas, so that if I developed a technique that was working at home, I had the greatest chance that it's going to work in a casino. There's a lot of guys that they'll put together a piece of plywood and some felt, and they'll get some rubber diamonds, and they'll set it up against the wall and kind of do their best effort, but you wouldn't believe the level of details that matter are high enough that you could develop an edge throwing the dice at home that just doesn't work in the casino. That's what I wanted to avoid, and that's why I'm maybe a little bit of a snob when it comes to that kind of thing. And the chips too. I have a full set of real Paulson casino chips on my craps table too. I have more invested in the chips than the table, in fact.
Well, you know what, man? This is your business. You take it serious, so you got to do what you got to do. Now, let's talk about your technique. I described what I saw in Beating Vegas with Dominic Lorigio, where he had the arm motion, a pendulum kind of swing, and he really tried to hit the dice just before the wall. Is that your technique, or do you do something different?
Well, first of all, when I got started into looking at developing an edge, I did follow the Golden Touch craps throw. And the GTC throw is generally regarded as the most common throw. Now, there's a couple of other throws as well, but I'll tell you that I generally do throw the dice pretty much the same way that the Dominator would throw the dice and the way that Frank would suggest that you throw the dice, and I always have.
Afraid to ask this, Aaron. How many hours a day might you practice?
I play a minimum of 3 hours a day, and I have now for over 3 years.
You're kidding me? 3 hours a day?
Yeah, and I'll go on binge sessions. I'll gamble 14 hours a day. I'll take, if I take time off and I have time off, I'm not going for a vacation. I just play and I practice continuously in the casino. Some people have the idea that because I have a craps table at home, I'm always playing at home. And I do things at home, and I share them on the Internet, but almost everything I do at home is on the Internet. And I play at home very infrequently. I'm almost exclusively all of my play in the casino on real tables.
Well, that's what we call living the dreams, my friend. Hey, you're a math guy. I'm curious, when you talk about the dice, are they as good at generating random numbers as a computer? What's the difference there?
Well, so whenever a slot machine generates a random number, they use something known as a pseudo-random number generator. And generally the way that these things work is they take in what's known as a seed value, and from that seed value they generate a random number. And so when computers generate random numbers, they're generally, the process is different. So this has been a great point of debate for people that don't believe in advantage play craps. And so the suggestion is that, well, dice are 100% random, and you can't beat randomness. And what you are seeing is you're seeing what you think are trends that are going to hold up long term, but they're just part of randomness. And so people have a tendency to see patterns where patterns don't exist in random data, and that's absolutely true. But the people that get really serious about craps, and this is where the work comes in, you have to record thousands and thousands of throws, and not just throws, but consistent throws with consistent sets and a consistent setup from a consistent location. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so what you're looking at to do in order to form an edge on craps is to roll the dice consistently, so frequently, the same way, in the way that's known to generate an edge, and then have the statistics using well-known statistics methods such as the Pearson's chi-squared statistical test to see whether or not what the data is coming out with is just adequately described by randomness versus there's something going on there that's not random. And so with the slot machine, those random number generators generate 100% random numbers. But whenever you throw dice consistently on a table, they can deviate from randomness. In order to know how it's deviating from randomness, you have to do a ton of work, you have to record a bunch of data, and then you have to know exactly how the way that you throw the dice differs from randomness, and then bet accordingly, and on a low enough edge bet that you can overcome the edge. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, the difference between those real, pseudo-random number generators that are done by computers and a die is the difference between exploiting things of chaos versus random. So, the dice bounce chaotically; they don't bounce randomly, and this is a difference where people fail to understand that when the dice are bouncing, they think every time they hit the felt, they just randomly change the way they bounce, and they don't. They chaotically bounce.
Wow, talk about every last detail. Hey, listen, I just thought about cheating. I mean, you hear about people switching the dice. You hear about people, I think it's called sliding the dice, where at least one of the dice slides as opposed to goes up in the air. Have you seen instances like that firsthand?
You know what? I actually had an instance where I accidentally had a slide roll once, and this happened probably about a month and a half ago. And when it happens, it's different. When people are using a slide technique to get a rollover on the casino to get an edge, which is relative to all these other things, is very simple to do, but it's difficult to get paid with it and not to get caught. So there's all kinds of ways to do throws that the casinos won't allow. They'll generally still pay you, but they'll warn you, look, you can't keep doing that. If you're going to throw the dice that way, you're going to have to leave. And sliding the dice, though, kind of crosses another line in that shows intent to defraud the casino. Sometimes if you don't hit the back wall, that happens normally, and it's not such a big deal. But if you slide the dice, that's just one step shy of trying to grab a stack of chips and head for the door.
What you're saying is, in the old days, there'd be a hole in the desert somewhere. Hey, listen,
Absolutely.
Talking about every last detail, what about time of day? I know poker players like to head out on a Friday and Saturday night when the non-poker players are getting drunk and having fun, and they wander into the poker room. Is there a time of day that's better to play?
Absolutely, and if you want to
really
play in craps, that is one of the most important things. I'll give you an example. Last night, I headed out and got to the casino at about 10 till midnight, and I was out till about 4:30 in the morning. And the reason why I was out during those times, on a Friday night from 5 p.m. to midnight, it's packed, right? And the tables, there's not a spot for you. And so when it comes to the details of the different casinos, even on a Friday night, there's a couple of tables where you can find an empty table. But as an advantage play craps player, you don't want anybody at the table except the crew. You don't want any other players at the table.
Is that right?
If you're trying to make, yeah, absolutely. If you're trying to make money and you know what you're doing, you don't need any help. You need people to get out of the way, and not bother you, and let you do your thing, and let you get paid, and let you get out of there.
Hey, listen.
Absolutely. Timing is critical.
Okay, we got to talk money management as well. That's a big part of gambling. Does it matter how big your bankroll is? I mean, does moolah come into play in finding an edge?
Absolutely, and that's one of so the casinos use all kinds of techniques to try to take all of your money. And in general, the way that they can be more assured to take your money is to have a higher edge. Now, going back to the slot machines, the edge is kind of dialed in with a computer, and there's just like one edge. So the casino might go into a menu, and they poke in a menu, and they say 2%, 3%, and they're done. And so that number is always in effect. Every time somebody hits a button to suspend the reels, they get a 2% or 3% edge or whatever it was that was dialed in by the person that owns the slot machine. Well, with craps, every different bet you take has a different edge, and sometimes the edge is higher the less money that you bet. And so it's kind of a cool punishment that if you don't have enough money to play the game, you don't get as good of a deal.
Really? That's very interesting stuff. Hey, we're on the line with Aaron Hightower, a craps expert. His website is www.goodshooter.com. Aaron, I heard about people doing slow motion filming for craps. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, there's a lot of interest lately. These slow motion cameras that are coming out these days for just $200 or $300. You can get these amazing slow motion cameras, and previously these things are costing like $10,000.
I mean, I guess it's like, now that I think about it, it's really like a golf swing. I mean, you can picture Tiger Woods with his coach and the camera there, and they go over the video. I mean, are you really getting into that depth where you were studying your throw by video?
Yes, and so with the slow motion cameras that are out on the market today, Casio actually makes what I think is the best one for this use, and the market that they do serve is the golf market, as a matter of fact. Some of these cameras, they have built-in golf swing modes, and it'll show you multiple pictures and stuff. But for craps, what you're really looking at and what you want to use it for is to see when the dice hit the felt, what do they look like? What is the orientation? What's the spin rate? You can only control the dice up until the point that you let go of them. And once they hit the felt and how they bounce, they're going to bounce in a way that looks 100% random to just about everyone who's looking at these things. So there's some people that are like, well, your dice are bouncing randomly and the slow motion isn't helping you. But what the slow motion really does is it lets you see how much control did you hit up until the point that the dice hit the felt on the first initial contact. And that's what you want to. If you just look at the outcome of what the dice resolved to, that's harder to get feedback on how well you did because you can get lucky, and luck is the primary component. But if you look at what did the dice look like when they initially hit the felt and use that as a measure of success, that helps you hone in on the parts that you can control, which is, what did the dice do up until the first bounce.
Well, while we're on the topic of dice, and I really don't think the folks at home are going to believe this, you've got the craps table in your home, but you've also made your own dice, correct?
Yeah, I've created some custom dice here. Here in Vegas, there's several places that sell dice to the casinos, and one of those places is in the casinos they're known as the B dice, the B branded dice. And these dice, they're made by the same company that owns the Gambler's General Store. So you can actually go over to the Gambler's General Store, and across from the retail store, they will, excuse me, they will allow you to make custom dice. So they're not really that inexpensive, and you have to know how to use Adobe Illustrator to get your custom designs on there. But for less than $1,000, you can have your own custom dice done, and that's what I did. I made a run of 20, and I didn't make any money at it, but I did sell them on my website at a slight loss, just kind of to promote my website and stuff. And it was not that hard to do, and it's something that if there is anybody that wants their custom dice that's interested in that, I can kind of show you the ropes and even help you. It's more of a thing of passion than anything.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I'll tell you what, it's fascinating stuff, and you brought up a name there, the Gambler's General Store. I'm fascinated by the Gambler's Book Club. It's a vaunted destination, legendary plays, old Howard Schwartz over there, the gaming historian. Tell us about the Gambler's General Store. What's that store like? Describe it as you walk in the front door.
Well, they've got all kinds of, the exterior of the store has all kinds of murals painted on the outside of, caricatures and games and everything. So it's kind of hard to miss if you're headed up from the Strip towards downtown there. But as you walk into the store, you're going to see a bunch of cards that have been used in casinos and a bunch of books, and they've got all kinds of different supplies and stuff in there. And this is the kind of place you're going to go, especially if you're new and you're just trying to learn stuff. And the people that have been working there, been in Vegas for years and years.
Well,
Stories and.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Aaron. I'm going to have the owner or the manager of the Gambler's General Store on the line pretty soon. I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff, so we'll get an interview with them, get them talking about the store, because next time in Vegas, I'll be there. All right, for craps rookies like me, what's the best way to play? Keep it simple, short answer. We're talking simple bets here. I mean, do you set the point, bet the insurance, and then the 6 and 8, and hope for a good roll? Or I think in our last chat you talked about the 10 and 5 wagers.
Yeah. Well, the 10 and 4, if you're able.
Oh, 10 and 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. The 10 and 4, if you're able to get as much as $50 on the felt at a time, and especially if you're not worrying about rolling the dice yourself, you just want a good chance to win. That's a good way to go. A lot of people that are just starting the game, they don't want to bet too much money. And if you do have a limited bankroll, there's really only one way to go about trying to win at the game, in my opinion, and it involves a lot of patience. So if you're trying to get a good deal and have a lot of free drinks, that's a good thing. If you want to win and get done and get out, it can work against you. But patience works to your favor in craps. Craps is a game where one bet can last a long time. And so for a new player, the way to go, in my opinion, is to bet the minimum bet on the pass line. And you're going to do that only whenever the puck says off. That's the come-out roll. You want to make sure you only bet the pass line on the come-out roll. That's the single biggest mistake you can make, is betting the pass line when it's not the come-out roll.
Interesting, okay.
Bet that on the come-out roll when the puck says off. And they'll announce it. We're coming out. When you hear them say, we're coming out, that's when you bet the pass line, and the only time you bet the pass line. Now, after they take that puck and they flip it upside down and it turns from black to white, and instead of off it says on, they're going to move it on to a number. That's the time when you're going to want to take your free odds bet. And different casinos have different maximum free odds. The standard is what's referred to as 3, 4, 5x odds. So if the point is a 10 or 4, you take 3 times your pass line bet. That's the maximum that will allow you to bet on your free odds.
That's the bet behind the pass line, correct?
That's right. It's not a marked bet. The dealers will help you, but that's your best bet. And then, especially for a beginner, just from there, just wait. Just wait. And talk, have fun, but you've got your best bet right there. And if you take your next...
So it's as simple as that, man. You just put it on the pass line when the puck's off, then get the insurance or bet behind the pass line, and just wait and hope you hit your numbers?
That's right.
Amazing. Okay.
What you don't want to do is get sold on other bets, because, it's like a lot of other bets. They have the sucker bets. They get the good bets, and then they get the sucker bets. And the dealers, they're basically there to try and encourage you to bet the higher edge bets. But if you're smart and you know what not to bet, you bet just the pass line, just the odds. Don't even do any come bets. Don't even do any 6 or 8 bets. Just the pass line. Wait till the point's established, then bet your free odds, and take as much of those free odds as you can afford. If you're on a $5 table and the point comes up 6 and 8, put down the full $25, even if that's a lot of money to you, because that's where you're getting the best possible game, and that's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. And if somebody says you need to bet more numbers, you need to do this, you need to do that, just ignore them. That's the way to play the game. So it's knowing what not to do is probably even more important than knowing what to do, like knowing not to bet the pass line when that puck says on. That is the worst bet on the table. If the puck is on the 4 or the 10 and you bet the pass line, house has a 33.3% house edge. That's huge.
Unbelievable.
And so it's and the dealers are not necessarily going to correct you because that's how they make their money, and people that don't understand the game. So you got to make sure you bet that pass line only when the puck says off, and take your maximum odds that you can afford, and then wait and wait and wait. It can take a while for that to resolve. But you get paid more than you bet, and that's when the celebration time.
That's when the table's going crazy. The high fives are happening. How valuable is that tip, ladies and gentlemen? Aaron Hightower. Listen, since the last time you were on the show, Aaron, you've been quite busy, especially in the forums. Tell us about the website quickly, if you can, thewizardofodds.com, and what's going on there with all your posts and all the traffic it's generating.
Well, I had gotten on the Wizard of Odds a couple of years ago, and I posted some things that I thought about craps, and things weren't working out, and I started my own website. And then after I made some progress, I kind of went back to the Wizard of Odds, and the Wizard of Vegas is the actual name of the forum where people have discussions about gambling and talk some more about craps. Now, the Wizard of Vegas is a forum that goes along with the Wizard of Odds website. The Wizard of Odds website is known for all of the numbers, the math, and every different bet that's in Vegas, and his whole purpose is to help people get the best possible deal. And I can't recommend the site enough. He is the go-to guy for any math on any game in Vegas, period. And he does all of the details on all of the math for every game. Craps is relatively straightforward and simple for his website because there's so many different games and so many different math things. But I really wanted to kind of get, all of the hardcore details of craps in there. And so I started interacting with these guys. And so there's a lot of guys in there that do advantage play. They're looking for the math edges. They're like, well, I'm going to play video poker, I'm going to play blackjack, and I'm going to be counting cards, and I want to have my player edge, and I need to know everything there is about the math so that I can make the most money possible. Well, I started doing some discussions on there about craps and really stirred things up, and people have really done a great job to participate with me and learn alongside me. So I came in not as the guy that already knows everything, but someone who's really passionate to learn about some of the details that haven't been discussed yet. And it's really gotten that website real active with craps. I can't recommend their website enough. And there's a lot of great guys, very, very, very intelligent folks over there that professionally gamble. And so they really know what they're doing, and the math guys are second to none. So they know their stuff, and they're very helpful too.
Craps expert Aaron Hightower. The website's www.goodshooter.com. Aaron, I mean this when I say this. I've interviewed a lot of people, 13 years in radio, 5.5 in television. Interviewed Wayne Gretzky, Rowdy Roddy Piper, to name a few. And I'll tell you what, that was one of the best interviews ever. I mean, the information you gave us was just wonderful. Thanks for being a high roller today, buddy.
All right, thanks.